Well, hello and welcome. I'm Dave Sobush, Director of Research and Policy at the Florida College Access Network. And I'm so pleased to have with me today Dameion Lovett.
My pleasure, Dave. I'm glad to be here.
We're having a new simplified FAFSA released at the end of December 2023. What are the main changes that students and their families can expect with this new application?
The very first thing is that the students and parents that are completing the FAFSA must consent on the application to having their tax data pulled directly from the IRS, whether they have that information or not for the 2022 tax year. The next thing that's going to be a little bit different is that the Department of Education is changing the way that the need for financial aid is calculated. Currently, that is being used by the expected family contribution, or the EFC. That is being changed to the terminology of student aid index, which is a more accurate term to describe how students and families will contribute to their education. One of the final things, in the simplification part at least, is that the FAFSA has been streamlined so that students and families don't have to answer so many questions. And from what we're being told by the Department of Education and Federal Student Aid, this should drastically cut down on the amount of time it takes for students and families to complete the FAFSA application. We are hoping that that will not eclipse 15 minutes to get the application completed. So that is definitely one of the biggest bonuses that we're looking and waiting for.
That's terrific. What are some things that students and their families can do to prepare themselves for the FAFSA completion process?
If they don't already have a Federal Student Aid ID, go to the FAFSA website and sign up for one of those. And basically what that FSA ID does is it allows the student and the parents to sign their FAFSA electronically. They each have to do this separately because that information contained in that FSA ID is their name, their date of birth, their social security number. So all unique identifiers to each individual person. And that is one of the main things that they can do as of right now, until that new FAFSA is released. So once it actually is released, then all of the other information that they will need to have will be kind of embedded within the application. In some cases, the students and families may need tax information, but for the most part, that should just be for a reference because of the new consent process to pull that information directly from the IRS. So as long as that tax information has been filed, then it should go through very seamlessly.
The simpler, the better. What happens after the student hits submit, and what are the next steps after that?
After the application is submitted, the student was going to receive immediately their financial aid summary, and that will give them an idea of what to expect in the way of the federal financial aid programs that they may qualify for. Then that information will be sent back to the Department of Education's processor so that the application can finish being processed. Then all that data will be sent to the schools that the students have listed on the FAFSA. Then the schools will start to put together a financial aid award offer for the student. For the most part, schools may not be ready to send that information out as their financial aid award offers until probably March or April. And the student may be required to submit additional documents to the school. And basically what the school will do is to take that information and compare it to what they submitted on the FAFSA. It is extremely vital that the student pays attention to whatever the school is asking for. So for most schools, they have a student information system or a portal that they can log into to check the status of their applications. They should do that frequently and or check the emails that are sent to them by the institution.
How often should a student apply for financial aid?
Every single year that they're in school. So this year with the change to the FAFSA is the anomaly, where the FAFSA will be out on December 31st. But moving forward for the 2025-26 school year, The application is scheduled to be back on its regular calendar to be released on October 1st of 2024. So that's the cycle that students and families should start to get back in that are going through this for the first time.
What are some of the myths and misunderstandings around financial aid?
The myths that we often will hear from people in general is that the first thing is that I don't qualify for any financial aid, so I'm not going to complete an application. What individuals actually mean when they tell us that is they don't believe that they're going to qualify for grant funding, so free money from the Department of Education. What we always encourage students and families to do is to complete the FAFSA application no matter what. Students will qualify for student loans if nothing else. Does not matter how much the student or the family's income is, everyone will qualify for at least an unsubsidized student loan from the Department of Education. In addition to that, for 2024-25, the FAFSA application uses tax information from 2 years ago. So that is important because once those students come to school, it will be 2024, not 2022, where the income was based on to determine their aid eligibility. Lots of things can happen in those 2 years. Anything that changes the family's financial situation can be reviewed by the financial aid offices to give the student a more accurate representation of their financial aid and a financial aid award offer. Another thing that we also will hear is that the application is too complicated. And so for that one, it's going to take a lot less time to actually complete the application. For the most part, people will spend more time worrying about it than it actually takes to do it.
What additional supports are available for students and their families as they apply for financial aid?
There are lots of organizations in the community that are connected with schools, especially high schools, that work with students and families to help get the applications completed. Another initiative that we're working on with FCAN is having a walkthrough of the FAFSA line by line. In addition to that, on the actual FAFSA application itself, there is the opportunity to actually chat with a representative from the Department of Education, Federal Student Aid, as you're working through the FAFSA. So there are lots of things out there, but one of the main things is just being aware of when that FAFSA application is available. This year, December 31st, following years, back to October 1st. In addition to that, especially for our students in the state of Florida, is also making sure that they are applying for Florida Bright Futures and any external scholarships. It takes some research. And so as long as you do that legwork, you can be prepared. The only advice I would say here is that if you are going to do this, the easiest way that I've found is just to write it all down. Have a list of things, even just on a spreadsheet, that show what deadlines are at individual schools, when their applications are due, so that you can kind of keep track of that and just check things off. Because this process of applying to college, there's a lot involved.
You know, perhaps the best New Year's resolution all of us can make in 2024, those that are applying or returning to college education, is get that FAFSA done in that first week of January, and glad tidings will come of it. Dameion Lovett, thank you so much for joining the Florida College Access Network and sharing your wisdom and insights to the simplified FAFSA.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Glad to have been here.